So I love amplifiers. Big ones, small ones, some that come as a head. But what if I told you that the tone that really knocks them dead comes from not an amp at all? I'm talking about the Strymon Iridium. Now, 14-year-old me would be shocked and probably disappointed to know that I wasn't playing through some hand-wired boutique or vintage amplifier every time that I take the stage for most of my professional gigs. In fact, he'd be really disappointed that I wasn't using an amplifier at all. So I had to get this pedal when I joined the Swan Brothers. So I was talking to Zach, the guitar player and lead singer, typically lead singer, and Paul, the sound guy, and they explained to me that they strive to have a silent stage. It means that if at all possible, there is no amplifiers, no speakers, no nothing that's making noise on the stage. Maybe with the exception of drums, but there are even some places on Broadway and some churches too that'll do electronic drums to have a truly silent stage. But that's not rock and roll. I mean, that's what I thought anyway, right? So, like, you can't feel any vibrations coming off of your cabinet. You can't interact with the air that's coming from the speakers, and, like, what's that going to feel like? Just playing air guitar naked in front of a whole bunch of people? There's no way that that could be fun. So to be honest, I just boycotted the whole thing. I bought the Strymon Iridium pedal just to have as a backup, but I took advantage of other options that we have out there to reduce noise and to not get in trouble with the sound guy. So I had the tone shield to go in front of my speaker. I had a Dr. Z brake light attenuator standalone unit, and all that was to make my Fender Princeton quiet. Yes, a 12-watt Fender Princeton was just too loud for this application. Well, I never got in trouble really with volume. Paul liked the tone, so did Zach and Colton, so we were golden. And I was happy too, because it's still an amp, and who doesn't like a Princeton? Who doesn't love Fender amps? Well, we had one run of shows up in Wisconsin, and I didn't realize until sound check that I had forgotten the IEC cord to go into the back of the amp, and I was flipping out. I'm like, oh gosh, like, I have no choice. I'm going to have to go direct. Well, luckily the venue had an IEC cord that I could borrow, and so, crisis averted. I could keep playing the Princeton. But then, when we were sitting at catering, Paul kind of challenged me. He says, all right, tonight, we already sound checked, you have your ears mixed, you have everything ready to go. Play through the Princeton tonight. But tomorrow, just go direct and let me show you the difference, if there is a difference, of going truly silent and just going direct. So I thought, okay. Night one goes great. No problems, great tone, happy. Night two comes along and we're playing this big outdoor venue. And I thought, well, this would have probably been more appropriate. We had played a club the night before, but this big outdoor country festival, I thought, oh man, I should have just reversed the roles or something, or there's no way that this is going to be cool, just going direct. But Paul took the videos. The show sounded good. It felt good. No mistakes. I thought the tone in my ears was pretty ripping. I was pretty happy with it. Then Paul plays me the front of house mix, and my guitar is huge. I mean, absolutely huge. I can hear everything. It has the right edge of breakup. It doesn't sound like it just doesn't sound bad at all. So then I was converted, if you will. So the downsides. Well, I already hit on a few. One is that you feel like you're playing air guitar, and that kind of sucks. I mean, just naked air guitar is maybe fun in a dorm room, but not on stage. The other one being, of course, that you just don't feel the vibrations of your guitar going through the stage from the amp. And one that I didn't really hit, and this is kind of one of the big perks too that I'll get to, is that you just don't have any control over your guitar volume. You are completely left at the mercy of your sound guy. So hopefully he likes guitar, and hopefully you treated the sound guy correctly, because you don't want to you don't want to piss them off. They will decide whether or not you sound good or not. Hey, but that's every night, right? But the perks are way better. So, one is that you don't have to carry an amp, and that might be the most fun part of this, or at least the most ergonomic part, is that if you have a pedal board, or hell, even if you don't like pedals, you can just put this in your guitar case and be ready to rock and roll. The other is that you can always have that perfect edge of breakup tone every night without destroying your bandmates or the audience's ears. Now, again, that's not rock and roll, right? To not kill everybody's ears, but I mean, what's rock and roll about wearing hearing aids as a 30-year-old? That's way less rock and roll. And from a practical standpoint, you can have the same in-ears mix every night, and you can have a saved front of house mix that your front of house engineer only has to tune the PA to the room, and you've got a solid bass line to go off of with very minimal sound check. So I use the Strymon Iridium, and are there better options out there? Probably. I mean, Universal Audio makes some really killer sounding stuff. Stuff that sounds just like the amps that they emulate with no, yeah, I can hear that. And you can have models of your specific amp if you use the Quad Cortex or the Kemper Profiler. But for guys like me, this is just fine. I am an amp guy. I like my regular effects and the board that I have. So I can throw this on at the end of my signal chain and have a silent amp option with the tools that I'm used to using. So while 14-year-old me is probably upset that I'm not plugged into the Dr. Z behind me on most of my gigs, he's probably glad to know that I'm at least playing gigs. And that's what it comes down to is whatever gig that you have, you just have to follow the rules of what the camp wants. For the Swan Brothers and others that I'm with, rhymes aside, it's a silent stage and it sounds fantastic. Others, I'm allowed to bring the amps. I have a country gig that I bring my Mesa Boogie dual rec to, so it's what the gig calls for. But let me know what you do in the comments. Do you have a direct rig that you like? Are you never going to go direct? It's just not for you. Until next time, keep picking.